Hey, what is going on, party people? Greg Jenkins here from House Monkey Pod, and I try to practice what I preach. I find when I give advice to other people, that is often the same advice that I really need to take myself. And one of the pieces of advice that I often give people is that not everything that needs to be done by you. And what I mean is that we as entrepreneurs, we're extremely capable. And that leads us to believe that we can do anything because oftentimes we can. We can roll our sleeves up and we can figure it out. But just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. And there are times in our businesses where it makes more sense strategically, financially, or otherwise to outsource something or to partner with someone who has the skill that you are looking for to get something done faster or easier or more efficiently. And the reason I say all that is sort of to justify what's about to happen here, which is I outsourced something in my business that was overwhelming or felt overwhelming to me. I got an email a couple months ago from Google Analytics, and then I got another one, and these emails were telling me that it was time to update from Google Analytics to GA4, Google Analytics 4, presumably. And that process felt technical, it felt intimidating. So I kept putting it off, but I kept getting these reminders. And so I finally clicked the button to start that process. And as I was going through their checklist, their tutorial or wizard, whatever you want to call it, I just froze and I felt like I couldn't move forward. I felt like I wasn't smart enough or wasn't capable enough, and I was kicking myself for it. And then I remembered the advice that I give other people, which is not everything that needs to be done by you. And so I reached out to some smart people I know and I asked for help. And I even suggested like, hey, maybe this would make a good guide for other people. My understanding is that everyone who uses Google Analytics will need to update to GA4 by summer 2023. So if that's you, if you're in that window and you haven't yet updated your Google Analytics to GA4, then follow along because I've asked two friends of mine, Jade and Paul, to walk through this process. Paul is going to lead Jade in terms of updating the MonkeyPod marketing Google Analytics account to meet the specifications or requirements for GA4 in the future. But if you need this for your business as well, and it's not your love language, then this should serve as part one of a two-part guide for accomplishing that in your business. Now, I'll turn it over to my very good friends, Jade and Paul. Enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Jade,
So cool.
don't know what direction that it's actually going to be in the recording. But anyway, okay, so we have a very, very special recording for you today because what we're doing, let me set the stage. Greg, Mr. Gregory Jenkins, got an email from Google Analytics saying, hey, you really need to update because we're something technical about the old one and you have to be on something 4. Greg's like, I don't really know what this means. I think I have it. And he forwarded it to me. He's like, do you know anything about this? And I was like, no. So we not only is it like a learning opportunity, but we thought we would ask Paul because we know he knows how to do it, but we would record the process of him helping me implement it on Greg's site. And I've never seen this before. I don't know what I'm doing. So it's a really good educational experience. And plus, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is kind of a really big thing that everyone, if you have it, you have to do this by summer or something like that. Like your old one isn't going to work. So if you're anything like Greg and me, who have this site and have it, but don't really know how to use it or what we're doing or how to update it, this is a great video so that you can follow along because I'm going to ask there's no such thing as stupid questions, but I'm going to ask what does that mean? Because Paul is kind of like one of those like mad scientist genius type people, and he speaks nerd and I speak human. So this is going to be like a really great translating experience as well. I mean, did I set the table correctly?
You absolutely did. You totally did. So this might take
What?
5 minutes. Well, I mean, if we have proper access, because basically first thing we got to do is figure out how is MonkeyPod implementing Google Analytics,
Okay.
because that's what we'll need to switch out, and then just setting up a Google Analytics 4 account. Let's start off with Google Analytics 4 then. So if you want to share
Okay.
your screen.
I do. Okay. So these are the only two things I have pulled up while I'm working on the share. I have, let me just pull up Chrome. Boom. I have access to MonkeyPod's Google Analytics, which I
Perfect.
only recently learned is it's not like you get like Greg added me and I was expecting like an email like you've been added to something. Here's your username and password. And I was like, I don't know. Turns out he just gave me access. And since I'm on the MonkeyPod like Google Suite, because I have
Oh yeah, the
email.
accounts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in his account as, Jade at monkeypodmarketing.com. So he simply added me and you go to analytics.google.com.
Mm-hmm.
Woo,
Yeah.
figure
So
that one
let's start there. So go ahead and click on those breadcrumbs in the upper left. It's like all accounts, MonkeyPod, because this is a great place to start as far as training people, because you may have access to multiple accounts. Yeah, go ahead and click on that bad boy. And you can basically see that we're in MonkeyPod Marketing, and there actually is a Google Analytics 4 property that exists already right there. Yeah. So, and then if you click on that, that'll take you to, I mean, basically the exact same homepage that we're at. But for the purpose of this training,
what
yeah.
is, so I understand that this is the analytics account, but what are properties and apps?
So properties, easiest way to think about it is like a house, like homes, properties, where like this is the Universal Analytics lot. This is the Google Analytics 4 lot. This is Greg's secretwebsite.com, Universal Analytics, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So because you can have multiple properties within an analytics account. So madam, if you imagine you're like Coca-Cola or something, like you've probably got a bunch of websites out there. You're not all going to be using the same Google Analytics on every single site.
Oh, so you would want one like primary account, but then multiple properties and apps, for a company that has multiple websites. You would only want one primary account?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And then that keeps everything nice and centralized. And then usually I recommend per domain, a Google Analytics account for it. Okay. Although sometimes if you're doing like a ClickFunnels subdomain or something like that, then yeah, keep it on the main whatever. But yeah, that's the difference. And then of course apps like literally means like apps on your phone. Mm-hmm. Our audience isn't app developers, but there's analytics for apps. Okay.
Is it cool if I click out of this like, hey, you're gonna be
yeah, we can close all this. So let's actually show people how to create a Google Analytics 4 if it doesn't exist already, because in this case it exists. So in the lower left corner, assuming we're in the right account that we want, we would hit the gear, takes us to our admin area. And then it's a 3-column kind of layout where that left column is what account are you in? And then the middle column is what's the actual thing, what's the actual property. So in this case, it's Google Analytics 4. And in your case, you can see the button is grayed out, but there's a create property button where you could just say create property, here's the name of it. And there you go. And then it'll spit out a Google Analytics 4.
Gotcha.
Basically. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so actually, let's stay here because we actually need this ID. So you see the data streams, it almost looks like a zoom in on a CD. Yeah, if you click on that, what makes Google Analytics 4 different than the previous Universal Analytics is that it can have multiple streams or multiple sources of data. Oh. Whereas before, if I had an iOS app and an Android app, and then like, let's say an HTML5 application, those would be 3 separate Universal Analytics properties, which is a big pain in the butt to try and munge them all together into like one view. So now that's what GA4 is doing. So again, the stream exists already, but just for funsies, yeah, go ahead and click web. And once you've created the property, you'd make a stream. You go ahead and hit yes in this case. And then you would basically just pop in the URL, give the stream a name, and then that's basically it. So don't set up a new data stream in this case, but that's what you would do. And then, and we'll talk about that in a second when we look up at the other data stream.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so yep, click out of that and go into the data stream that already exists. So that main GA4 that's right there. So as far as tracking and whatnot, the measurement ID, that G dash, that's the main thing we care about. That's what we're going to need to get onto his website once we figure out how is it connected to his website. Okay.
Okay.
Now you were talking a little earlier about these enhanced measurements, these enhanced events. These, if you go ahead and click on the +4 more that we were looking at before, these are basic web interactions that you would have to set up in Universal Analytics if you just wanted to do this. Well, one of the cool things about Google Analytics 4 is it's looking for just these basic kinds of site interactions, so you don't have to set them up.
Cool.
So at this point, we found the Google Analytics account. We've created a Google Analytics 4 property, and then we've created a web stream to get the measurement ID. So that's all we need to do inside Google Analytics. Now we would look at his website. So this is probably a good point to pause and say, Jaderade, what are you wondering? Because I know that that's just like a fire hose to the face.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it would be more appropriate if I repeat back to you what I think is going on, and you can feel free to tell me like if I'm way off.
Do it.
So basically, it's important to note that Greg already had Google Analytics set up, hence the purpose of this video to update it to GA4.
Google Analytics 4 specific. So he had an account, and he also had a GA4 coming into this video. So yes.
Okay. He must have like clicked something in the email, like click here to get it or something like that.
That is correct. I started, got scared, and stopped.
So it's there. You showed us how to add it if it wasn't already there. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking at what's included with GA4 before we implement it.
Yep, and we're looking at the raw ID number of the measurement. Very good, Jade. Yeah, no, that's absolutely it. That's a great summation. So now again, the stream ID is different than the measurement ID. The measurement ID is what we're using. As far as the stream ID, I'm assuming reporting, API stuff, I don't know. So now let's do some troubleshooting and figure out how is MonkeyPod currently doing Google Analytics, because there's many ways to put that code on the site. So you ready to do some digging?
Okay, are we going to dig in the site, or is it something that you would configure on the analytics page and then implement on your site?
No, we've done everything inside analytics. We've gotten to the point where we have a measurement ID. Okay, so the first thing to do is we need to figure out how is he currently putting Google Analytics on his site. And there's many, many ways to do it. In fact, I've never actually seen the back end of Greg's site. That's really cool. One of where I would start by looking would be the theme and seeing if the theme has its own analytics settings. So it looks like he's using Divi at the bottom, potentially. So let's go to the theme options. I'm going to look so cool if this is the way to do it. All right. And then at the top, let's look at the top. There's that toolbar. I guess let's look at like layout.
Oops.
No. Okay, no, let's go to ads. Nope. SEO. Nope. Integration. Hey, kind of.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey, look at that. That is
Google Tag Manager.
That is a tag manager. And now it's interesting. Do you have access to Google Tag Manager? A tag and a pixel are slang for the same thing. It's
Really?
a small script that is collecting data. So, the Facebook pixel, the Google Analytics tag, the Google Ads tag, right? As you can probably imagine, over time, there's a lot to admin and figure out. So that's where the idea of a tag manager comes into play, where you have one, almost like a master pixel or a master tag, and then you set up all the tracking inside that. And so that's what Google Tag Manager is, and that's what he's got. Let's go to tagmanager.google.com and see if you have access to it. Otherwise, we're gonna have to do a part 2 of this guy. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, so you have access to that, but again, it's being implemented. So likely Google Analytics is implemented inside of his tag manager. And so we would just need to go into tag manager and add a new, add the Google Analytics 4. So if you want, Jade, we can maybe set up like a sandbox one and just kind of show how it works for the purpose of this video.
What I think might be more appropriate right now is I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around why, like, what is Tag Manager versus analytics? Why are they separate things, and why are they being used in an overlapping fashion?
So Tag Manager is like a master pixel. It gives you one place to rule them all. So if I want to install Snapchat, TikTok, LinkedIn, Bing, Yahoo's Gemini, if I want to install all of those pixels, instead of having to individually do it on the actual website, I would use a tag manager and then just make the changes inside the tag manager and then publish those changes. And then
so it's like a universal place to put all of your pixels, because tag is a different word for pixel. And so
yes,
one place to rule them all.
One pixel to rule them all. Yeah. And also the other thing too, there's operational reasons you want this as well. So with a tag manager, usually that also controls how the page loads, because of course all this tracking stuff is invisible in the background. So with the tag manager, it'll load the page and then it'll fire all the tracking. Where if you're just manually pasting in, the Pinterest pixel and, the Spotify pixel and all that, it might try and load that stuff before the rest of the page goes. And if any of those servers are going to go slow, that's going to impact page speed, which, page speed's really important. And so that's that second benefit, is that it helps the page load speeds as well. Because I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to like a major media website and looked at how many trackers or, tags they have on them, but they'll literally be 50 to 100 different types of technology. And then you wonder why the site like runs so slow or all the ads are looking stupid. It's like, because they're doing just so much.
Yeah, I'm laughing because you just asked me, have you ever been to a website and looked at how many tags and pixels they have firing? The answer to that question is no.
This was no, I'm sure. I'm sure the answer is no.
Like, how would you even check on someone else's website? How many tags and pixels do you have firing?
Oh, there's a Google Chrome plugin called Ghostery, and it just tells you, here's all the tracking pixels we've detected on this page, and it'll even point you back to the technology owner's website. But yeah, no, that is interesting. It's like, what is, why do we have a tag manager versus all these things?
I like the high level.
Makes it easy to admin.
Yeah.
Thank you. It just makes it real easy to admin. Because I did this But we were doing the same thing. We paused the Google Analytics tag and we turned on the Google Analytics 4 tag and then just hit publish. And then bam,
Okay.
the change was made over. So that's why I said at the beginning of this call, this could be a 5-minute tutorial. It's create your Google Analytics 4, get your measurement ID, and then add a new GA4 tag
and that's it.
to the, add it to Tag Manager and hit publish. And it's just like publishing a new blog post. It's there now. Next time the page
to tie
loads.
this in to Greg's audience, when you explained why use Tag Manager instead of placing all of the tags on a site, is like my brain just said it's like campaign merge fields.
Yes.
Like you, instead of updating it everywhere and like risking mistakes, you just do it once and it applies everywhere that you have that there.
Yes, or campaign links. That's a great way to describe it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Cool.
So again, it's easy to switch over, but again, the tech thing is there. Right. So cool. I think we're gonna have to part 2 this, right?
We can totally do that. So I'm just gonna, this is like part 1, like educating Jade / people watching on what the heck this even is and how, like, where we might find things. And then part 2 is going to be, okay, I have access to the other thing now, and then we'll actually implement, which it sounds like that's going to be super, super quick and dirty anyway. So amazing. Okay. All right. Stay tuned for part 2.